Hi, I'm Edu Grau, Director of Photography of Boy Race. I'm very happy to be here at the Go Creative Show.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Consoli. I am a director and owner of BC Media Productions. And this is the Go Creative Show, the show dedicated to creative professionals in the video production and filmmaking industries. Edu Grau is the Barcelona-born cinematographer whose unique vision inspired the simple and sophisticated look of Boy Erased. Edu and I discuss working with director Joel Edgerton, Nicole Kidman, and Russell Crowe, depicting conversion therapy programs, Edu's love for shooting 16mm film, the beauty of stained glass, and so much more. The Go Creative Show is supported by Rule Boston Camera, buy, rent, create at Rule.com, Newsshooter.com, essential news for real-world shooters, Hedge.video, the fastest way to back up media, Shutterstock.com, and PremiumBeat.com, premium, royalty-free music, and sound. Well, this episode spans the gamut of all things filmmaking. And to be honest with you, I'm sort of surprised where it went, because I went into this interview expecting just to kind of talk about Boy Erased, which is a fantastic film. It looks great, very well acted, critically acclaimed. Everybody loves it. But we ended up talking about so much more, specifically a great discussion about 16mm filmmaking and mixing 16 and 35 film and digital. There's just so much in here packed into this 45-minute interview. And I know you guys are going to love it, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Our guest is Edu Grau. He is a cinematographer and director of photography for Boy Erased and a whole bunch of other great films. And we talk all about it coming up in just a couple of minutes. But before we get there, let's talk about Hedge. Hedge is a backup software for filmmakers. Now, I'll tell you how I use it. On set, I'm often my own DIT, especially for lower budget projects. And I'm always being handed media cards from my camera operators, my audio techs, behind the scenes photographers. Everybody's giving me cards. And before I give them back to them, I want to know that everything's been backed up correctly. Hedge backs everything up for you quickly and correctly, and it gives me the peace of mind to know that it's going to be done right. It takes 2 seconds to set up your Hedge, and you can import multiple sources and send it to multiple destinations. So I'm making multiple backups on set all at the same time. And often I do it right before lunch. So I'll set my Hedge, I'll go to lunch, and I get a notification on my phone via the Hedge Connect app when the transfer is done. It's perfect. They're constantly updating the app, so there's going to be new features all the time. You can get a free trial to give it a shot. You can get licensing per project, which is great, but you can also get a 20% off discount of the full license. And believe me, you're going to want this full license. You get the 20% simply by typing in Go Creative Show, no spaces, just Go Creative Show, all one word, into the coupon code at checkout, or you can go to hedge.video/Go Creative Show. It's the perfect solution for backing up your media quickly and securely, and it's all great, and it's all right there, and it's super easy. And that's why I love those guys, and that's why I know you will too. So check it out, hedge.video/Go Creative Show. Yes, let's dive in, shall we? We've got a great interview coming up with Edu Grau, the cinematographer and director of photography for Boy Erased. So I'm here with Edu Grau. He is the cinematographer behind the lens of the new film Boy Erased and so many more. And we're going to talk to him about all sorts of things. Very excited to have you on. Welcome to Go Creative Show.
Hello. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I want to get into Boy Erased first because it's out in theaters right now. Everybody loves it. It looks great. The story's fantastic. And it's a difficult story. It's a difficult story to tell, and I'd love to know kind of how you got involved in the film.
Well, we're friends with Joel because I met him, before The Gift, and we did The Gift together. And
we're talking about Joel Edgerton, the director.
Absolutely, yes, sorry. Yes. So Joel, we did The Gift together, and I love him as a person, as a filmmaker. He's one of my favorite persons in the world to work with. And so
why do you say that?
Why? Because Joel is one of those persons that is very good at everything he does. He's clever, he's nice, he's sweet, he's talented, he's creative, he's a team player. His ethics are in the right place. He is a film lover. He's passionate about what he does. He cares. He works hard. It's a lot of really good things he has. It's just a joy to work with. He's just a leader, fun. It's just really an enjoyable process to work with him. Actually, and that's quite rare in directors. There's a lot of difficult directors because to be a very talented director, you sometimes have to be a bit mad, and madness is a great thing, but it also comes with a package, let's say, but Joel is not like that. Joel is actually really fun to work with, and it's very enjoyable, and the result is good, so it's just really, it's a really fun person to work with, and the result is always something interesting.
Do you think do you think it creates a better result when you have a really good relationship between director and DP?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting along with a director is part of my job, and getting the right thing. To get the right thing, you need to have a very similar frame of mind, and going in the same direction, going in the same, going towards the same goals. And I think it's all important. And the more time you spend with him, the more you want to spend time with him or her, the director, it just will make the movie better. The more in sync you are with the director, the better the movie theoretically will be. Most of the times it's like that. Obviously, there are rare cases that a DP and a director hate each other, but they still manage to do an amazing movie. But it's rare, I would say.
So when Joel came to you with this film, what was your first reaction?
First of all, I was very happy that Joel called me again, because I did his first film, and I was, excited to do his second. But also, when I read the script, I was very, very impressed by the move he made. Like The Gift was a small psychological thriller based on movies of the 80s, 90s, and suddenly Boy Erased was in a different league. Suddenly it was a gay conversion therapy, a lot more complicated with characters of production, a real story as well, and it had a lot of different elements. So I was very impressed of the turn he took in his career, which I have to say that it's pretty amazing that you can do these things. And at the end of the day, it's like he's very passionate about making films and telling good stories, and that's exactly where my goal as a cinematographer is. I don't want to do genres or styles, or I don't want to, I want to do good films, and good films come from different places, different genres, different characters. It's a lot of different things that make good films, So I was very happy to go on the journey with him, and to a different path that we've taken before, So that's always good. That's always good to keep changing, to keep learning, to keep growing. It's a good process making films.
So when you're telling a story like Boy Erased, there's two things going on. One, it's an important topic. It's a sensitive topic. I mean, you're depicting conversion therapy programs. It's also a true story. So you have to stay true to the real people, the real events, what's going on. That's a lot of responsibility on certainly the director, but also you, because you're depicting the visuals of this, and you need these environments to be something that people can relate to, that are true. It's a lot of responsibility on you. How did you approach that?
Yeah, obviously, Boy Erased is based on a book, on a real story of a real character, on a real life. So one of the aims of this movie was to be as truthful as possible to the events, of Garrett, so that the character describes in his book Boy Erased. So we try to be as truthful as possible. Obviously, there are some things that cannot be the same. Obviously, we shot in Atlanta, and the story takes place in Arkansas and Phoenix. So it's like, you obviously the places are not the same. The car is like a real lady is played by Nicole Kidman. There's obviously like a jump from doing a movie and reading a book. It's a real story and the movie version of the real story, obviously. But we worked very closely actually with the writer of the book. He was just a lot on set. He was very involved in the writing of the script and some of the decisions that were made, on choosing the parameters to shoot. So we tried as best as we could, but at the end of the day, what also like when I did Suffragette, which was kind of a historical event based on real real part of history. You at the end of the day, the importance is the essence. If you are truthful to the essence of what happened, the essence of it doesn't matter if I don't know how to say, but like important is how you tell it to be as truthful as possible to what happened. It's not exactly that the events are reproduced methodically to perfection, but it's like if you get the soul of what happened, and that's what we aim for. And at the end of the day, we're doing a movie, so the scenes have to be written to work, and probably a life not always makes sense, not always has a coherence, and when you're making a movie, you try to give it to it, so the characters are as truthful as possible and as close to the book as possible. And Garrett and all his family love the film, and they feel themselves, they see themselves in it. But at the same time, we took our licenses, a creative license to make the movie as good as it could be, and basically visually is a bit the same. You just make it look the best you can for what you are telling. Obviously, you cannot make an upper middle class family look like that they live in a $3 million house. It's a different thing, or like a super cute, very well designed, very well lit house. No, it's just you have to be a bit truthful as well to the way they live, the way. So sometimes. I see it where race and I think, fuck, a lot of the places where everything happens is not the most beautiful or the most visually stunning places.
Exactly.
But it's everything is a bit ugly, in the world they live. But that's what it is, and we have to embrace it and we have to find the beauty in it. So I'm like a lot of the times I was like, oh, this location is so hot. It's just not. I wouldn't pick this location to make a good shot. By me, we picked it to be truthful to the story. We didn't want it too flashy, the movie, too beautiful, the movie. So that's part of my job, absolutely. So to convey the world they live in. So
that's got to be. That has to be challenging to be in a location that isn't that great looking. But you want to make it look good, but you kind of can't because you don't want it to be unrealistic. I mean, that's got to be a challenge for you.
Exactly. But that's part of our job, and there's also a very thin line sometimes of what looks good, what looks bad, what to you, it's very subjective, obviously. Yeah. But also it's like what's truthful to the story, and sometimes it's like, oh, wow, that scene would be really awesome if it was really dark. But it's like, yeah, but it's not true. It's not truthful to what we're telling, So you have to be a bit careful, not to overdo it, not to over caramelize or over sweeten the story or over crafted, So we try to be a bit simple and a bit basic and, go for what felt best to tell the story, to be honest.
It's very raw. It's very realistic. And I think that, it looks like you shot it with what appears to be natural light as often as you could. And I think it lends to the realism of the story. And it's like, as you're watching it, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I spoke to the director of photography for Bohemian Rhapsody, and we talked about how he portrayed Live Aid, because Live Aid was not a particularly great-looking event. It was really nothing on stage except a big poster that said Live Aid, and that's it. And we talked about how you get to a point where it's more just about creating an environment that allows the actors to give you what you need. And he's sort of just like, he certainly lit it and made it look as best he could. But in that moment, it wasn't about the cinematography. It was about the actors and just about the story that was being told. In Boy Erased, it feels like there are moments like that where you're creating environments that look accurate, that feel very real. It just allows the audience to feel the scene versus looking at it, if that makes any sense. Did you feel that?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we work very hard. We create an environment, we create a look, we create a mood. But it's all about the actors. It's about, because the actors at the end of the day are the ones who are gonna, transport us to those real characters. So for me, it's very important to work with the actors, to work, to make them feel comfortable, to make them, feel like relaxed, and to create the mood that it's like they are very important. And obviously, our job as a cinematographers is to create that mood, to create that vibe, to create that look that makes them, part of the story, and and that it's part of it. It's just a little detail on those people's life, and it's the mood of the film. But it's so tricky, being a cinematographer, because it's like, I actually think it's the best job in the world, by the way. Yeah? It's not like it's like two, but it's tricky because like lighting on a shot depends on an actor looking. If like 2 degrees to the right or 2 degrees to the left, it changes my shot. It changes my lighting, and it makes it a no-go or a terrible shot, or it makes it an amazing shot. Sometimes it's just so sensitive. So obviously we all have to work together. They can be doing the best performance, but if they are looking in the wrong place, if they are doing the wrong thing for the camera, that the camera doesn't capture in the proper way, sometimes it's like not a good shot. And it's just, and it's very, we all work together. It's a very thin line. It's sometimes a bit magic. It's not like that that something is going to be perfect and work. No, you need to work hard in every single detail, every single set decoration, every single light you put, every single decision on the focus, on the height of the camera, on the background you choose, on on the lens. It's just a lot of little details that make something. And so it's working with this, and that's the joy of being a cinematographer, working with talented director and talented actors. It's just we all try to to set our goals, and that's where we are all going. And I felt in Boy Erased we were like that. We were a team going for something, and we were very clear what we wanted, and we were all looking for the same. We fought very hard to go there. So it's quite beautiful and magic when things come together and you work with actors and a director and a whole crew, and it's just that you're looking for something and you get it. So that's quite beautiful.
I want to talk to you about your use of stained glass and lighting through stained glass in these therapy scenes. What we just talked about was kind of creating that canvas that makes you feel, that brings realism. But what that also does is it invites, it creates an environment where any details that are different from what you've been seeing really stand out. And I think your use of stained glass lighting is a perfect example of that. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about your strategy behind that and how you used it.
Well, I mean, like, it's actually quite funny because I love stained glass, but I didn't look for stained glass for that scene. It was just happened that we found a location and it had stained glass, and we love it, and that's how we went for.
Yeah.
And the good thing about the stained glass is that it's like a play of mirrors, but through a window sort of thing. So the stained glass has a quality that it's not a window. It's not, you don't see reality outside. It's kind of a play of, so it actually, I love it because it looks very good and it's also quite easy to look good. It has a lot of good qualities, and it's something, stained glass is something I come back to again and again when I have to choose or with the production design about the environments. And stained glass is something that I really really like because it looks good, but it's also just kind of sends your imagination somewhere. You don't see exactly what's out. You just have a feeling of it. And it's also, in this case, for example, with Boy Race, it really helped us because we had those big scenes, and some of them are shot at day, some of them are shot at night. So stained glass can, make you feel always day. Whereas if it was a window, it would be a lot more difficult. Those huge windows would be a total different ball game if we were shooting at night, and we had to light. It's kind of very difficult to make it look realistic. Whereas with stained glass, it was a whole different thing. You never see what's out there. You have a perception that life is outside, but you don't see it. And it's also created that feeling that the room was bright but more secretive, like there was something more, obscure happening in there, not related to reality. So we like that.
Yeah, it does make sense from a storytelling standpoint as well, and what the significance of stained glass is, let alone the look of it. So there's a lot. There's a lot there. What did you shoot this on?
So we shot on two formats. We did a lot of testing, and we had that kind of, I don't know, like a romantic idea of shooting it on film, but also like it was $30 million movie, so it was not very realistic to have a huge budget. So to shoot on film, and also having a lot of kids, some of them had never acted before, a lot of therapy sessions, quite long, long performance, long takes, so it was going to be a lot of film. And so, be more realistic. We were like, with the budget we have, with the situation and the movie we had, and the kind of actors and the kind of scenes with a lot of characters, we kind of like, we maybe will benefit from shooting digital, budget-wise, and also like creatively, so you can do a lot more takes, you can play around more, you can shoot two cameras all the time, you grab some things here and there without having to be careful with the budget, and the money. So we came with that idea that kind of fit us both, that we will shoot the exterior data on 35 mil, and then all the interiors and the nights with Alexa, the Alexa Mini. We share the same lenses, but like we got the best of 35, which is daytime exterior, and we'll get the best of Alexa that is shooting a lot of takes and having, kind of infinite media to shoot with, without having the producers on our back. So we came up with that plan, and it kind of fulfill our soul and our, romantic, view on shooting on film, but also fulfill the producers and the fact that we could shoot a lot on digital as well. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's what's important is to get the best movie you can. And I think that was the line. It's always how we make decisions is what's going to make the best for the movie. And in this case was this combination. That's what we thought, or we tried, We're pleased with it.
So that was 35 millimeter film outside,
yes.
Alexa Mini inside.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that to match later on in post? Did you have any issues?
No, I mean, like, the thing was, like, what we like is like the first scene and the last scene was going to be filmed. So like actually that changed a bit because we changed a bit the edit in the edit.
What happened?
We created a new scene at the first scene is a new scene that we shot later just to introduce. We thought it was a better way of introducing the character and the story. But like what we liked was film will create the texture, the pattern, the kind of look, and then like Alexa will have to look like film, or will make it look closer to film. So we like that pattern, like we like that that creative path to get the images we wanted. And I think obviously it's a bit more tricky for post, and it creates a lot of a different medium that has different specifics. But at the end of the day, we're happy with the result, and we're pleased that we did what we did.
Now, you're no stranger to mixing formats.
Yeah.
In the film Suffragette, you mix 16 millimeter film with 35 millimeter digital. Same sort of thing. Film outside, digital inside, and that's a totally different film, a totally different looking film.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a sense of where that decision came from, because that was when 2009 something. It was many years before this, or 2015. 2015.
Yes, exactly. So it was a bit in the same pattern. A bit like we like film, we like the texture, we like what it gives us, but it's unrealistic sometimes in terms of production to shoot film in big setups, interior, or like at nighttime. It's just a lot more work and a lot more money. So. And it doesn't look that good. For example, 16 doesn't look that good at night. You need to put a lot of light to make it look worth it. So it was a bit the same, but on Suffragette, we liked the texture of 16, the roughness that it gives us. But we also had a lot more exterior daytime in London, with a lot of actresses. So it just kind of, both period films. So it made a lot of sense to shoot on film, and when we came up with the idea of shooting 16, we just found it that was like amazing. 16 is an amazing, beautiful format.
Was that hard to sell to the studios? You don't hear a lot of people shooting on 16 right now.
Yeah, but we did testing, and they said, and they looked at it, and you know what? There's not a format in the history of filmmaking that has better films than the movies shot on 16. It's so crazy, because like to shoot on 16 has never been the average, has never been the normal format, has never been the standard. To shoot on 16, you have to have it's a choice. It's a director's choice. It's a cinematographer's choice. It's like it's an attitude to how you see the world, how you want your film to be. It's like you're not going the normal path. You're choosing to go kind of like more expensive, more weird, more like I don't know, more handheld. I don't know. You're making such a choice that it becomes in a relevant story point or a relevant storytelling device. Shooting on 16, and there's not that many. There's not a single format in the history of films that has an average of better films. Like 16 has a lot of good films for what it is. And it's just because there is this attitude. This attitude that comes with shooting 16. That it's like you are doing something, and and you're making a choice. And I think that's important in filmmaking. You're taking chances. And so that's what we like about 16. It's also so small and convenient. The cameras, that the handheld with the zooms, it all flows very nicely. It just makes it all, it makes it very organic and beautiful at the same time. So
that's an interesting thought, that 16 is a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, even just the way you're talking about it, it's like you're lighting up when you're talking about 16. And just a couple minutes ago, you were talking about how you're like, oh, well, we wanted to shoot film, but we kind of resorted to the Alexa Mini. Like it almost is like I can hear your passion when you talk about 16. I'd like to go a little bit deeper into that. So you said it's a choice, but what is the choice? What is the choice you're making? I mean, obviously camera form, shooting 16, but I'm saying, what does that mean to you as a cinematographer to be making the choice to shoot 16?
Well, I believe that making films and being a cinematographer is a matter of choices. And I believe that like the bolder you go, the more chances you have to succeed. I always tell that the good movies I've done is because I've lost a lot of hair. I've suffered a lot. It was very difficult. It was tough. It was not because of the movie or the director or the actor. No, it's just like making movies is very tough,
Mm.
and if you play it safe, if you play for the average, for the convention, you never gain in a way. You never win. You have to work hard. You have to, you know, um, make bold, creative choices. You have to go for it. You have to, put a lot more than normal to for the movie to actually be something else. So I believe in that. I believe in that. In my career, the happier I am about what I've done is when I took choices, when I took risks, when I went off the beaten path, and made a creative, crazy choice that was different than what people would do, and that's what made the film something else. And that's what I'm. That those are decisions I'm happy about my career.
Hmm.
And that's that's something I look for. I get offered a movie to be in a coffin, and it's like, wow, this is crazy, but wow, that's exciting. That's a challenge. Let's do it, right? I need to do the movie in a coffin. If it's a good director, a good script, a good actor, it's like, why not? And I had other options, and I went like, no, I need to do the coffin movie. It's once in a lifetime. And I'm one of the happiest. One of my favorite movies is Buried. And that's that I've done. And I lost a lot of hair in that. I was shooting 35 in a coffin. It's like pretty crazy right now, but that's what made me feel alive and feel passionate about what I do. And that's what makes me better. I always say, look, I'm a very passionate guy, but you'd rather have me passionate than not caring. Because passionate, I always bring something to the table. If I'm passionate, if I don't care, if I'm not on my A game, I'm not. I'm not good. I'm not any good for anyone. So it's a bit like that. It's just like it's good when you feel you're going in a direction and you feel strong about it, and you feel that's the best way of telling that story. And it's not the average. And I've done average movies, and I've made safe choices, and I'm telling you that these are not my favorites. This is not these are not the choices I'm very happy with. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's lessons you learn, and sometimes it's time to play it safe. Sometimes it's time to play it bold. And it's a path. You make choices. Sometimes you take this or that other route. And you never know. You never know where you're going next. And it's very easy to say, but maybe I'm gonna do a lot of average movies in the future. You need to feel it. It's not like, oh yes, I'm gonna go crazy and do something very weird now. No, you don't. It's not like that. It just has to come natural. Has to come from a truthful place. Has to come from passion. Has to come from a project that enables you and kind of takes you there. So
I think we can all relate to that. I mean, I can certainly relate to that in my own work. I do commercial. I'm a commercial director, and
yeah,
you definitely there are projects that you're doing it because you love it, and this project it's passion. You know it's going to be great. You love it. And then there are some projects that start that way, but then client relationships and feedback rounds and
exactly.
all this stuff, and then it kind of just turns into doing it for the money. And it's like you never really want to just do it for the money because it just feels gross, especially if you're not at the beginning of your career. That's different. I did everything for money when I was in the beginning of my career, but you get to a point where it's like you never want a project to just be done. You release it and you're like, ugh. I just
Exactly.
got paid for this. Like that just stinks. And
Exactly.
and it sounds like you're on the same
But we
boat.
all do.
Certainly.
But we all do it sometimes because it just happens. You don't choose it to be like this, but it just happens that, and sometimes it's the same project, but one person, one idea, one moment, one makes you elevate it somewhere else, and it just makes it something. So sometimes we're lucky and sometimes we're good.
Yeah, I think, and it's not even the case of just booking something that you're doing for the money. The intentions are great at the start. But
Exactly.
so much can happen. I can only imagine with a film because it's so much longer of a process. I mean, a commercial is like a 3-week thing from start to finish. But like over the course of a film, it just must be so challenging to keep that momentum going, keep that that pace and that passion going. Do you ever feel that way?
Exactly. No, absolutely. And look, I suffer a lot making movies. It's very difficult. It's like it's hard on my family, it's hard on myself, it's hard on my body. It's hard on my brain, like it's really difficult.
Especially when you're staying in a coffin for months on end.
Exactly. No, but every movie is difficult. It's, like I always think that every shot is complicated. It's like you have to make so many decisions. I always say that you need to make 100 good decisions, 100 decisions to make a good shot, So it's like, I mean, some of them come, you make in prep. What's the story? What's the character? Who's the actor? What's the costume? What's the location? What's the set dressing? But then it's like a lot about, what the actor looks, what's his body language, or her body language. What's, what's the lighting, the color, the contrast, the saturation, the level of darkness, his highlight. It's like everything counts. And it's 100 decisions, that you may need to make. The height of the camera, the focus, where you put the focus. Do you put it deep, or do you put it close? Do you rack focus? It's like so many little things. What lens, what focal length, what texture you want, what filter. It's like so many little decisions that make it. That it's like it's very stressing. Look, when I work, I don't stop. It's like every single detail counts. It's like, you need to keep grabbing, you need to keep sculpting a shot. It's never, sometimes you're very lucky and it just comes like that and you do one take and it's amazing. And it's like, wow, how lucky we were. But it's rare. It's very rare. Most of the times you just need to work hard and hard, take by take, and make it better, and just until you find the moment that everything clicks, the actor, the camera, the lighting, the directing, just the way it's edited, it's like the music, it's so many elements, it's that's why it's a miracle when a good movie gets made, it's a miracle,
Let's talk about Rule.com, Rule Boston Camera over at Rule.com. It is the place to go to purchase and rent all of your production equipment. There you go. Production is mission critical. I mean, I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but it's true. People are spending a ton of money on getting this one project, and it needs to be shot on this particular day at this particular moment. It's mission critical. The last thing you want is your gear to be insufficient or for you to not understand how to use your gear. That's a huge problem. And that's what I love the most about Rule Boston Camera, because that's not going to be the problem when you're working with Rule. It just isn't, because Rule has got your back. Let me tell you what I mean. When you rent equipment from Rule, first of all, the equipment's going to be top-notch, in great condition. They're never going to give you anything that stinks. That's the first thing. Secondly, you're going to have expert counsel all the time. All the time. They're going to give you technical guidance to make sure that you understand the equipment before you take it out. They're committed to supporting you and making sure that your shoot goes off without a hitch. You are supported by Rule. They've got your back. And that type of quality is what you want when you're renting equipment. You're renting because you don't own it. And you don't own it, so you don't really know how to use it as well as the stuff you own. So you need that support. Now, support is all well and good, but if you don't have the right gear, it's not helpful for you. That's another thing that Rule has. They have a world-class inventory of rental gear. They've got cameras, audio, lighting, grip, communications, camera dynamics, all the movies and easy rigs and everything you can imagine, plus a giant selection of lenses. All there on their website for you to rent and enjoy. So head over there. Rule.com. Rule Boston Camera. Rule.com. I want to circle back for just 1 second and go back to shooting 16 because, God, the last time I shot 16 was like college. And I don't even, and it wasn't, in any professional setting. I think it was just like teaching us the old way of shooting. But you had mentioned something just a few minutes ago, kind of in the middle of a statement, and I just wanted to pick it up for a second. You talked about it was like portability or handheld, something like that with shooting 16.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to just take just a couple of minutes and talk about what does shooting 16 allow you to do that you just can't do with an Alexa rig or a 35?
Like the 416, even the SR3, like 416 RE camera, it's one of the best cameras ever designed. The only thing, it came in the wrong time when all the Reds were coming out, all the digital cameras were coming out, and they exploded. But but if you put it now, a 416, a bare 416, you have 12 minutes of shooting time on your shoulders, and it's so light. It's so ergonomic. It feels so good in your shoulders that you can be there. You can have it for hours. It's so nice. And you put a zoom lens in there, so you even have, you can zoom, you can go wider, you can do so many things. It feels such a liberating way of shooting a movie. It's just like you transmit wireless, so you don't have any wires with you. It has a small battery. It's so light that it just makes you feel a lot more movable and a lot more like, free doing your move. So it's kind of an interesting path, to make films. It's a beautiful toy, and it feels very ergonomic and a very easy way of making films. Obviously, then you have the light meter, the monitors are crap, and so on. But for the camera operator, it's amazing. It's such a beautiful. And then you shoot it, and everything looks better than you ever imagined, because 16 adds that grain, adds that texture, adds that thing that it's just special and unique. So.
And we're talking about the Arriflex 416 film camera. If you guys are interested, you can go check it out.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that it does create this like lightness in this portability, and
exactly. Especially on handheld. Obviously, if you have it on a tripod, it's a different thing. Also, like the resolution, the definition of the 16 mil is very special and peculiar. You see a wide shot, and things are not crisp, things are not defined, but that sometimes helps you. That sometimes creates a vibe, an aesthetic. A different thing that you're not used to, especially now that people are shooting 8K and 65 mil, and it's just completely the opposite as 16 mil. It's just nothing is actually defined and straight. Everything is just kind of, it's behind a big piece of grain, which is, either you love it or you hate it. I hear you, but I feel that people that don't like it, but I have to love it sometimes. Yeah.
In our last few minutes, I want to talk about A Single Man, directed by Tom Ford. I think it's one of the best visual depictions of the 60s that I've ever really seen. It has a grit to it. And I think a lot of people have like Mad Men kind of like changed the way that we interpret the late 50s and early 60s. And it's very clean. It's very slick. It's almost like a futuristic take on the 50s and 60s. And I think your film had so much more realism in it, and it had so much more grit to it. And I really would love to talk to you about kind of how you created that look and how you came to the decision to create that particular texture.
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. It's like... Single Man changed my life. I was 27 when I got a call from, the producers of Tom Ford that I met on a line on a film festival at 12 o'clock at night. And suddenly I was being called to by Tom Ford to have an interview,
Oh, you must have been so nervous.
Oh, yes. It was like, I was 27, it was like I was coming fresh from film school. From the National in London that I finished a year and a half earlier, and I was just I was given the opportunity of my life, and to this day, it I am here because of a single man. So it changed my life completely. But I was very lucky. Sometimes when we're lucky,
Yeah.
and I've met this passionate filmmaker that hadn't done a film, but he had a vision, and he kind of saw what I was doing, which was a lot of 16mm film student, soft, grainy, handheld stuff with a bit of poetry. And he fell in love with my style, and he took the chance. He just went for this crazy Spaniard that had never done a film in the US to do his first film, which is crazy. Those kind of decisions that no one makes. And Tom Ford, with all who he is and all the responsibility and his money and $5 million movie with Julianne Moore and Colin Firth, he took it. But then when I interview with him, after 5 minutes, we just clicked. It was just he knew what he wanted. I couldn't agree more. We liked the same kind of film. We will push each other. We'll make each other better, and we'll find a visual language that will tell the story in the best way we could. And one of the things we talked about was grain, and how the 60s were grainy, and the film stock used to be grainier than it is now. And and I talked to him about this film stock that was disappearing. That was the 500T, the old 500T, 5279, I believe it is. And he said, "Oh, I really, we tried, we tested, and it was a no-brainer. It's just grainier and more saturated and had more contrast." And we basically were the last film in the US to shoot with that film stock, and which was one of the best film stocks ever created.
Wow.
And that's why it's rawer and grittier and a bit grainier and more saturated than most of the movies of that were done around those years. It's a film stock that no one was using, and that helped us a lot for the creating a look. And obviously, then we had a lot of. I really like, in the first meeting he put a lot of Life magazine covers, to show me. It's like, oh look, I want this kind of look. I want this kind of lighting. And that was kind of a pattern we follow. It was like a Life magazine cover. That was the reference in a way, one of the references, So that's the look we went for a bit, like that kind of color and that kind of texture, and and then it's about trying to tell the story the best way you can. It's all about trying to tell the story, and that's all the decisions we make. It's like, what's the best way of telling this story? And we felt that was, being brave and taking a weird film stock and making it contrasty and, making bold choices. We shot the movie in 23 days. A first-time director and a 27-year-old Spanish.
Wow.
We shot in 23 days. So and that there it is. With its flaws and its imperfections, but there is something in it. So it's, and again, sometimes we're lucky,
You are listening to the PremiumBeat.com Song of the Week. It's called Yuletide Greetings by Little Red Church. PremiumBeat.com is where to go for all of your royalty-free music and sound effects. Go to their website. You can access their collection of thousands of royalty-free tracks for as low as $49 each. And you don't just get the one song. You get cut downs, you get loop sets, you get all the pieces you need to customize the track to fit your project perfectly. It's the holiday season. And for all of you guys making holiday-themed videos, Premium Beat has a huge selection of really cool holiday tracks like this one, Yuletide Greetings. It's not just your standard, Christmas song redone. It's something new. It's something unique. And that's what Premium Beat is all about. Quality and quantity and amazing prices, all there at PremiumBeat.com. And And lastly, let's talk about Shutterstock.com. Shutterstock has over 12 million royalty-free video clips, many of which are 4K. In fact, 102,000 stock clips were added just this week. So we're talking about a giant collection of fantastic footage. Now I'm going to tell you what I do. I go to Shutterstock.com. I go to footage and I click on curated collections. This is where I always start. And I suggest you do the same because it takes their, millions and millions of clips and it curates them in really interesting categories. I mean, there's so much here all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'm just looking around. One category is called Cup of Joe, so shots of coffee, okay? Immersive technology, skylines, just all sorts of great stuff. And I generally start here and sort of expand my search from there. Now, what about price, you ask? Well, I think the pricing over at Shutterstock is fantastic. I mean, you can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars by by sort of pre-buying clips. So you can buy 10 HD clips, a collection of 4K clips. You end up saving a ton of money if you pre-buy, and that's generally what I do because I'm always buying stuff over at Shutterstock. Of course, they have music, they have images, all sorts of stuff there. And I strongly encourage you basically just go there and check it out. If for nothing else, use it for inspiration to try to find some visual examples for a project you're pitching, let's say. There's just so much use for high quality images and footage and music, and it's all there at Shutterstock.com. So check it out, Shutterstock.com. All right, it's time to move on to the remaining portion of our interview with Edu Grau, and it's coming up right now. You had mentioned on your website that working with your gaffer, Jim Planette, am I saying that right? Was, your quote, was the best crew choice I've ever done. And I'd love to talk to you about the relationship between a gaffer and DP on set, how important that is, and are you able to make that choice all the time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, gaffers, I normally choose them. But obviously, if I shoot in somewhere that I don't know anyone, so, the decision is if I can bring someone or if I have to hire someone. But, at the end of the day, it's my interviews and I decide who I want to work with, But Jim is a legend. Jim is one of the best gaffers in Hollywood history. He's done E.T., Legends of the Fall, Braveheart, Ocean's 11, 12, 13. It's like The Artist, The Road. He's done like so many amazing looking movies, and he's a sweetheart. He's an amazing guy, and and I've done I think 5 movies with him. I've learned a lot about him, and probably to find the crew on a single man when I came first time to LA that I'd never been. I just looked at my favorite movies of the last years and I started looking at the crew. So that's what I wanted to interview this guy. I want to interview this guy. And I looked at Magnolia and there he was. Jim Planette was the gaffer. I said, can I interview this guy? And they said, yes, he's available. He came in and I met him and it was my first interview as a gaffer. And I know it was my third actually. And the second guy who I really like, I said, I could give you the job, but I have a third interview and I'm going to have the third interview. And if not, I'll give you the job. And he said, who are you meeting? And I said, Jim Planette. Is like, oh, if he wants to do it, you should take him. And I was like, wow. The second guy, I was really happy with him and said, actually, I met Jim and he was amazing. I was like, my only worry was that he'd done so many good films. He knew so much about filmmaking. He's such a film lover. There's no gaffer in the world that loves films as much as Jim. He can watch, between 5 and 10 movies every week, nonstop. He doesn't stop watching movies all the time. It's like crazy. He knows about every single movie. It's just a film lover. And it's so beautiful when your crew loves what they do, So, and Jim was a joy, my only worry was that he was going to be the DP. And I said to him the first day, look, I'm going to listen to you a lot, but at the end of the day, I'm going to make the decision. Are you happy with that? It's like, oh, yeah. it's your movie. You make the decision. I'm just only here to help. That's exactly what I needed from him, and we made a great team. And he helped me a lot. He made a lot of choices for me, which was great. And sometimes I had to say no. I want to make it this way. So, and it's good. And he was also happy with it. So at the end of the day, filmmaking is also team playing. And you're as good as the team you are with. So you better choose well who is around you and who's helping you, and the right attitude, the right soul. And gaffers are a very important part of what we do. And every single crew member. Everyone is important. Everyone makes you happy or unhappy. Everyone makes you better or worse. So it's team playing that counts. And so many details, 100 decisions per shot. So
I love
everyone,
that.
you need help. You need help. You cannot make them all. It's like, if you try to make them all, it's gonna take too long. And it's all happening very quickly.
My last question for you is back to Boy Erased, but it could apply to really anything. I'd love to know, all of your films, you must learn so much about yourself, about the way that you shoot, the way that you interact with people. Is there a lesson that you learned on Boy Erased that you're going to take with you to your next project?
Yeah, like for me, the biggest lesson on Boy Erased was that I really enjoy working with people I love and I respect, and telling stories that count, and that fill my soul. And on Boy Erased, I had that feeling all the time. I had the feeling that I was working with beautiful people with great souls, that we all wanted to tell a good story, worked very hard. And it was I'm not only talking about Joel, I'm talking about every crew member, I'm talking about the producers, I'm talking about like all the actors. They were there for the job, to tell the story. And I feel like there's a lot of shit in this industry. There's a lot of wrong viewings or like bad ethics, and whereas I discovered that I don't mind doing smaller movies. I don't care if I could make a lot more money or be a lot more famous doing that other thing. What I want is to feel good with the stuff I'm doing. I feel like I'm telling stories that are worth telling. And I think that was the lesson in Boy Erased, and that I felt all the time that, look, what we do, it's only sometimes entertaining, and it's entertainment for people. It's like, but if we can change one person's life with a movie, that's bigger than anything, and of whatever, but bigger than anything we do, and like we, entertaining, So I don't know. With Boy Erased, I was very happy with the thought that if that movie gets made and one person sees it, like, or 1,000 don't care, but if one person sees it and changes the way he sees the world, the way she sees the world, the way that she feels with her family, and a mother or a father change the way they see their kid, I'll be happy. That's worth making that movie. That for me, it's enough. So it's quite an important decision. It's kind of an important way of seeing the world. So I just don't want to make movies with people I don't like, people I don't care, stories that I don't, that don't feel close to me, And it seems small and very obvious, but it's actually, it changes my life a lot, because I know where I want to go a lot more thanks to that,
I love that. Thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show. Lots of awesome information. And I certainly encourage you guys to head over to your website and see the work that you've done and see the films that you've done, because there's quite a few of them that that are really, really stunning. Where can people go online to find out more about you?
I think my website is the best. I could do a list, so it's edugrau.com. Two W's, edugrau.com.
Edugrau.com, EDUGRAU.com. And of course, we'll put a link to this in our show notes too, so that you guys can get easy access to the site. Instagram, Twitter, where are you? You're on Instagram. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, but it's like, I'm not a good photographer, and I don't work very hard, and I don't take it very seriously, and I don't post a lot of things. So, to be honest, it's I don't know. I'm a bit shy on Instagram. It's not.
I see a lot of behind the scenes from your commercials on your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very random. It's like, oh, yeah, I haven't put anything on Instagram. Okay, let's put it. It's not, some people take it seriously, and I should take it more seriously. But, I don't know. I don't find the time or the energy. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I think if I do one thing good, I'll be happy. If I can make good films, I'll be happy. I don't need to do good films and be good at Instagram. If I do good films and be good as a person, I'll be happy. That's enough. I don't need Instagram.
I love it. Edu Grau, thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show. We'll have to have you back for your next film. It was a fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Really, really enjoy it, and have a good one. Thank you very much.
There he goes. Edu Grau, cinematographer and director of photography for Boy Erased. What a great film, huh? His work is awesome. You guys should seriously check it out if you are unfamiliar with it. Go and see those movies, especially A Single Man. So good. You know what else is good? The sound of this podcast, and that's because of Matt Russell, not me. If it was up to me, it would sound terrible. I am not good at audio mixing, people, but Matt is amazing, and that's why I hire him to do all of my BC Media Productions work as well. So he will mix, he will master, he'll make everything sound great, and you can hire him for your projects. You can find him at gainstructure.com and on Twitter at gainstructure. And while you're on Twitter, tweet us at Go Creative Show. Let us know what you think of the show, how we're doing. If you have any guest suggestions, we'll take them. And of course, our sponsors, Hedge.video, Rule Boston Camera, Newsshooter.com, Shutterstock, and Premium Beat. Without these people, the show wouldn't exist. So support those that support us. See you next week.